will call the meeting to order and join me in the pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we're still telecast, so I still have to say, that we're being telecast on Channel 14 and any, public, so we don't have to worry about that part. And we don't have any public comments, so we don't have to worry about that part. So we're flying through. Our first, did you have something that you're showing us?
No, that's her briefing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was one of our feel-good videos.
Oh, no. It is.
It is, but
it will
you're
be right
saving
before
it.
my brief.
Okay. So the first item is to act on the plaque for the Morse Pond Fitness Center, donated by the Road Race.
And I'll bring them. Nancy,
We have them?
We have people from Board.
Oh, we have people. I thought we actually had the signs. I was like, oh my gosh.
So just, the recommendation is to accept the donation, well, we accept the grant, and then act on the plaque that would recognize the Falmouth Road Race as being the donor on this. And we had identified that this seemed to be something that the school committee policies did have some, I don't know, maybe some questioning on, so we wanted to make sure you all were aware of what was going on.
So everybody got the copy of the grant with the grant information, and then we also got a picture of the sign and the policy, sorry, at the bottom of the file. The policies about accepting gifts and about how gifts that involve changes to school, I can't find the exact one. Substantial change, what is it?
The second line, the second paragraph.
Yes.
Change school plans or sites. So that's why it came to us to approve the sign. Did anyone have any questions? Did anybody have any questions? Leah did text me with one question about it, which was why we didn't have to approve the grant the same way we would approve a donation. And it's because it's a grant. We don't accept, like when FEF gives grants, we don't accept those. Or if this federal government or state government gave us grant, we don't have to put those through the same process like we do a donation. So that was the one question that came up. Are there any other questions since we have our...
Do you want to know what good work they did?
I do, absolutely. Could you describe, could you tell us all about your
Sure.
grant, Mr. Oliver?
Mrs. Burgess and Mr. Griffin, myself, and Laura Larson all got involved on this, looking to just establish a small fitness center at our school. We asked for $50,000 from the road race, and they were kind enough to give us $10,000, which is more than enough to get us up and running. And we have a space, an area that we could utilize down there in our area, right across from our classroom now. So it seemed like an easy thing to get done. As far as we have this space now, we just need some equipment. One of the things that they do at Lawrence is they get introduced to weight training and some cardio stuff. We're looking at trying to kind of build a little bit more of a foundation, because the stuff we're looking to buy is very lightweight, mostly bands, and our goal is to kind of teach like proper movement, so that if they do come up and they do start with some weight training as they grow, that they have the fundamentals of the right movements without heavy, strenuous weights. Everything's very lightweight, 3 pounds or under, or bands that are made for all sorts of different levels. Some of them are very, very easy to manipulate. Some of them are a little tougher depending on the skill level and the strength level. But for us, it was just a simple thing. The road race has been, extremely generous in this town. And certainly my feeling is I'd love to, find ways for them to help us in the school, whatever way that can be possible. I know it can be a tricky thing to navigate, but it was pretty easy to write the grant. And they were very willing to help. So I don't know if you have specific questions.
Any other questions?
Do the kids know about it yet? Like,
No.
they have no idea?
No.
So I bet they're gonna be really excited though, yeah.
So
Are you gonna look for other funds for the rest of it, or are you hoping to?
I think we have a really good start, really good base. I think the things we were asking for, some of them were, you know, over the top kind of things that we don't necessarily need, potentially like a flooring and stuff like that, but that's not necessary. It would have been great to have that, all that stuff, but some of the cardiovascular equipment is really expensive. But we were able to get some donations. We had somebody give us an elliptical machine, somebody gave us a recumbent bike, somebody else gave us a regular bike. So we had a good start there. But I think we can potentially add to it as we go.
So, all those things that are donated are not part of the grant, so
If they get donated.
if they get donated, we have to accept them.
Right.
Okay.
Um,
Most of them like things people are looking to get rid of out of the house. That's really why I need.
they're not like from a company, so maybe
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
rules don't apply to that, but we'll
Yeah,
have to find out.
They were just in the way.
Make sure we're, so we just heard all about the lovely,
The December
Really?
fun.
blazing.
Speed.
Did you have any questions?
Yes, but maybe you answered them.
So we talked about how I answered your question about the grant versus donation, so we didn't have to approve it because it was a grant. And I know that was one of yours. Did you have any?
So the process was that it got approved by the principal, right? Is that the process for?
I wrote them a letter of support when they
Okay.
asked in the spring about writing the grant application.
So you got the grant proposal first? To look through, is
They,
that
yeah,
how-
they explained to me what they were applying for. We looked over the website, talked about their grant specifications, and I wrote the letter.
Okay. And did,
And just to back up, we did meet and talk about if a grant did come in, what kind of procurement process would be required.
okay. And with the plaque?
We didn't get to that.
Oh.
So no, go ahead. Go for it. You're first on the plaque.
So I was just wondering if that was part of the initial proposal and.
Yes.
Okay.
Based on their philanthropy, I think you guys may have a copy of that. But that's something that, I think it's on the second page there. Under the grant program, the type of recognition or benefit to Falmouth Road Race is something that they ask for. They're looking for recognition when they donate money. We run into that in some other projects. So we simply just follow along that same kind of line. So a plaque of some sort or something like that, thanking them for the donation.
Yeah, that's not unusual because they did, remember when they were thinking designs for the field, the
Yes.
bleachers and all that stuff, so it's, and it should be unusual.
Yes.
That's in their mission statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just want to confirm where your point where we can talk about the plaque and.
I just wanted to make sure that we heard from them before we even took a motion, so.
Do
Did
you
anyone
want
have
to take a motion first before our discussion? I guess I'm just waiting to see. Or do you want me to?
Go for it.
Okay. So I guess I'm like thinking kind of precedent and what, if we decide to go forward with doing the plaque, like what that might be setting up. I know that I think the fitness center is fantastic and applaud you for encouraging movement because we need more and more of that. And the road race is a great community partner, and so we're really lucky to have them. They also funded the basketball courts at Mullins Hall, and I don't know if we have included any signage associated with that there. And so I'm just trying to think about the things that they've done or doing and will do in the future and how we make sure that we're gonna be doing that, always, giving them the same type of recognition. And then I also think about, did you say you requested 15 or 50,000?
15,000.
50.
50.
So you have a lot more that you're envisioning there, and so I'm thinking for the next 10,000 and the next 10,000, like what would that eventually look like in terms of recognition for everybody who's contributed to that? So those are some of my questions in terms of what kind of precedent we want to establish and how we do that.
Well, I think the precedent's already established. Don't they have their name on the high school basketball court? They got their name on the signage on the baseball field, so. They also did the dugouts over here, and I think there's signage.
I mean, we could, the list goes on and on and on. The generosity
I
is
think it's more than fair to
unbelievable.
give them the recognition for what they contribute, so I would vote to do it.
I think moving forward, and maybe this is a little premature, maybe in policy, we could discuss having a standard for a donor so that we're not
Yeah.
repeating this conversation over and over again, depending on the space, whether it's outside, inside, the location. I
Yeah.
think that maybe if we had a little bit more of a standard, since the Rotary is so good to us, among potential other donors in town for projects upcoming.
We definitely seem to be creeping into discussion because we're not asking them anything. So is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Before that, I just want to make a comment to the gentleman.
Yeah.
I applaud you for doing the whole project, but especially to not get too far ahead of the game as far as with weightlifting and whatnot, and the stretching and the being fundamentally sound. Because I remember, a number of years ago, even before Tom Brady was espousing it, I remember my high school football coach, who I knew he was, like a blood and guts type guy. And even him back then was saying to not lift before you're at a certain age. So that's great stuff.
Yeah, and that's definitely from all of us. I mean, I speak a lot on these things, but
Thank
that
you.
was our group decision to really be conscious of that.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Go for it. I'll make a motion to approve the plaque for the Morse Pond Fitness Center donated by Rotaries.
Second?
Thanks, Walter. Okay, now let's finish up our discussion amongst ourselves. So I think your point is really well taken, Melissa, and it was actually something that I talked with Patrick about today, that, I just feel like we need better guidance so that we can be consistent. Because this is not the first time, last time, or anywhere in the middle, that we've had to do this, because they're just so generous, and we just want to make sure that we do it
I
well.
know that we had spoke previously at policy that we tend to be a reactive group, that we're reacting to things, and we wanted to be a little bit more proactive on things. I would like to see us working on a standard of a donor plaque or recognition, maybe jump a little bit ahead of maybe some of the other things we're working on, just to kind of fast track it, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because another piece is that we do get lots of funds from many different sources, so it's like, how do we make sure that everyone's kind of equitable in how we're displaying our thanks? And I think, in kind of having that policy, then that helps principals when you're reviewing the proposals and say, okay, does that align with the policy? And it makes it all just streamlined, so there aren't these kind of bumps.
If we can have less bumps and more streamlined, to be so grateful to the road race among other donors, I'm all for it.
John?
Yeah, I'm all for having standards. And in addition to that, we've talked in the past too about, inclusive of the standards, to have a time frame component
I
of
was
it
gonna say
too.
the same thing.
As well, so if we have whatever the facility and somebody donates, $50,000 or whatever, and then 10 years goes by or 15 years goes by, and then somebody else comes in and then donates $200,000, how long is that on there? Just like the naming rights for the different stadiums and whatnot, I mean, on a smaller scale, and by no means are we not appreciative of the road race and to everyone else that donates to the schools we are. And with that said, I don't want that to hold this up, and I'm very much in favor of moving forward with this as is with the plaque.
So I guess my question for the policy committee is, how long does, I guess it's a twofold question, how long does it take, do you think it will take for you guys to do that? And can they wait to hang the sign until we know, or should we just move it? I mean, I want to approve it, but obviously you don't even, do
You
you have?
shouldn't hold up the sign.
Okay,
No.
all right.
I don't want to do that.
I didn't know how fast it would be.
Moving forward.
The
and-
policy committee has worked on that in the past, and
Something to start from at least.
I guess one thing I was wondering, is there another way, because we don't have that structure in place with the policy that's going to be really spelled out a little bit more, is there another way to give that recognition without going to something that is,
Physical.
physical.
As part of you want that as part of the policy or in place of?
No, I'm saying for what we're acting on tonight, is there a way that we can provide the recognition, meet what we've said in the grant, and then do the other piece as we get the guidelines around it from policy?
Would
I
that
would
mean
like to
we'd
know
have to
how that-
undo the signs that are already up though?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and at the risk,
Exactly,
Yeah.
I think the road race is so special to this community,
Yeah.
because you look at what we're involved with them, is the expo, the picking up of the numbers, the mile. So Falmouth High School is really involved, or Falmouth School District is really involved with the whole thing. So to question anything about the road race, I think that's a special entity, because they have formed such a bond with this community.
Right.
And obviously, there's a lot of signage around town in reference to that, and that's just an enhancement year in and year out. I don't think you can take that away.
It also says in the grant, hanging a plaque or sign.
Right, that's what I was gonna say, is
Oh,
that
sorry.
I think we need to approve the grant as
As
is
is,
here.
agreed.
right.
But if the policy becomes in place, then going forward, if there's a limit on signage or however that works, then it would apply to all.
Yeah,
Can
I
I-
don't want them
can
to
I
be
say-
prominent.
Am I out of turn if I just mentioned something that
No.
I don't want to, in doing the baseball field here last year, and Carl LaBosch was very involved with that project. One of the things that he said is that the road race really wants to be recognized for the things they do, because people come here on this road race weekend and it's crazy and traffic and people are, why do we have all these people here? Why do we have to do this? They want to be able to say, like, we're giving back to this community too. So they
Right.
certainly want a little recognition. So it might be tricky to say no more signs, but I don't think that's what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying.
Certainly, looking at what they want, I think that's where that comes from.
And I'm totally okay with that. People coming to our town, visiting family members. Oh, you have a road race? Oh, I didn't know. Oh, tell me about it. Or maybe they look it up on their own, whatever.
Everybody.
Not everybody. There are people
But
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think we have enough that we already voted, basically.
Yeah,
So,
so too.
can we do an official vote?
Let's do it. All in favor of supporting the Morse Pond Fitness Center sign donated by the Falmouth Road Race?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Great.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have the
Thank
company.
you.
No one else is here tonight. We feel so small.
Thank you.
Have a good night, John.
Can I just make one comment
Sure.
about the process of grants?
Yes.
And I think that's a piece we need to look at, because sometimes the grants get through and there is no process by which I even look at them. A grant, I want to say, was it the East Falmouth PTO needed a signature, and that was fine, and I just said, is part of anywhere in that grant says that we have to do signage for, I don't
Was
know
it
if it was
the
Cape
FEF?
Cod 5, maybe?
Was it the FEF?
No, it wasn't an FEF grant. It was over a weekend and she needed my signature, and that was fine. I just said, I'm not comfortable signing this. If in the grant somewhere you need to let me look at it, it says that we promised to make some kind of sign or something. So I think it's the process of how we work with those grants that needs to be cleaned up as much as anything.
Sure.
Do
So-
all grants and gifts, are you knowledgeable of all
No.
those? So
And
that's
that's
People
our
write
part
grants.
of what needs to be
Right.
in place as far
They
as
do not,
language.
they do not go through.
Maybe
This
we
is a-
can add that to our policy
Yes, that
conversation
needs to be.
with grants and donations, to make sure that there's specific language about signage in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leah?
So I think that there's two pieces here. I think there's the policy piece, and I think there's a protocol piece.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the protocol of you kind of disseminating that information to the principals, so then they're getting that information to you when it needs to be, they have the whole policy, they have the whole protocol in place, and then you can feel really comfortable about that. So I think there's two pieces to that. It's the policy, kind of
Yeah.
more of the ambiguous language that we have. And then there's the
Process.
the process of what that
Practice
actually.
of how you do
Sure.
it.
Say that
And
from
that's a great problem to have, that we have staff that are so committed and so engaged in what they're doing, that they just see a need and they think, let me just
Let's
meet
get it
that
done.
need, let's
Yeah.
just get it done. So it's a great problem to have, and we don't wanna stifle that, but we have to have some kind of order. We're just gonna be, like, we could have multiple people asking the same organization for money for the same thing, and then we just look completely unorganized. So, I have faith that we'll fix that. I'm not worried.
Can I ask
Yeah.
another question? So in that process, who would develop the protocol? Would that be
I think
you guys?
Patrick and I would
Yeah,
handle it.
okay. So we would help with the policy piece and then from there.
A really good example of sort of tweaking the process is FEF and people applying for technology. And Cindy wasn't really in that loop. So you apply, it's great, you get all this technology, it then becomes property of the district to maintain and take care of and replace. And Cindy wasn't involved in that. So that's a real good example of how teachers really want to do what's best for kids and get what they need, and yet there's a bigger picture, because anything that comes through a grant then becomes property of the Falmouth Public Schools.
Right.
And so there, you have to go through some steps to make sure that what they're applying for is something we need, we can service.
And maintain.
And maintain.
Yeah.
And that, you know,
And the other thing
That's
that
right.
was mentioned was not hitting the same people up more than once or over and over again.
For
So
the same-
if someone's aware of it, like Patrick.
mhm.
he
Like,
has
oh, we
plenty
just
of
asked
time.
for something, yeah.
Maybe the MASC could be a resource too as well.
I bet they probably
Sure,
have some type of,
absolutely.
You know,
there's gotta be there's gotta be a policy in
We're not
existence for
reinventing
this
the
sort of
wheel.
thing. We shouldn't have
Sure,
to recreate.
exactly.
Other districts probably have something in place, but maybe you guys could be part of that policy discussion too, and then we could, from there, look at the protocols or whatever.
Keep in mind that the policy stays really broad.
Right.
It's the practice that we need to really be more concrete about.
Okay, great. Next on the schedule is routine business, the minutes from our meeting on the 24th. Everybody already had them. I'm sure everybody read them so carefully. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept minutes of
The 24th.
October 24th.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, or corrections? Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, great.
I was not here.
Bill's abstaining. That was too quick, sorry. Report from the superintendent.
Okay, just quickly, November 2nd, Dr. Katie Thorpe-Laha and I presented at the MASC conference, and that went really well. October 30th, Stacy Pugh and I co-facilitated a parent meeting around summer programming, and we got tons of really good feedback about what our community's needs are for summer programming for kids. And lastly, I just want to highlight the work of the Falmouth High School Guidance Department. They do a ton of work over there, and I want to start with just a brief video clip.
The Guidance Department is very excited to host our 5th annual college fair at Falmouth High School. We have over 130 colleges, specialty schools, and military representatives that are here for all of our students, for our staff. The juniors and seniors will come down first, and then the freshmen and sophomores will follow. And it's a fabulous opportunity for students to talk to representatives, get ideas about schools, get ideas about programs, and opportunities that lie ahead for them.
Yeah, it's great to have the college fair here, just to be able to see all the options and be able to speak to representatives and get a better, more personalized idea of what colleges can offer for us. It really saves a lot of time to be able to see the colleges now instead of having to travel them, to just to have a conversation with somebody who knows about the college and can represent it for us.
I think it's a really good experience for all the kinds of students to get an idea for juniors, to kind of remind yourself to keep trying and to do well. And it gives you something to look forward to, but as seniors it's kind of more important important to pay attention and try and get your name out there and make sure that people know that you want to go somewhere, I guess.
I think having a college fair like this is the best kind of shopping expedition that students can go on to get a good taste for what their future might hold. I think there are like 140 colleges here today, and the students are going to get to walk around and pick up lots of brochures, but they're going to get to talk to people about what they are interested maybe in doing or becoming, and they're going to know that there's definitely this world beyond high school. So Falmouth High School is doing a really good thing to have this fair available for the students.
We've organized the college fair in this manner for the last several years, and I think it's so beneficial to students that they were able to see just what a wide variety of opportunities are before them for our students who think they know exactly what they want to do in college and what college they want to go to the student who might think, is college really for me? I think this is such a great venue for them to see that there's a place for everyone out there. And I love that Mrs. Gans has opened up and Mr. Kazarian has opened up the college fair to our freshmen and sophomores as well to start that thinking even earlier. We want every student to be college and career ready at Falmouth High School, and this is just one more way to show them that that's possible.
Thank you, Sharon. You have a list of all the colleges in the packet. It's the blue form, and it's a very big deal that the planning starts in June for that. So I give Alan Kazarian a lot of kudos for the work he does. His job certainly is not a 9 to 5. If you take a look at his Connecting the Parents program and just this is just a few of the opportunities for parents and what the focus is for those meetings. Additionally, I'm really excited because he is partnering with Falmouth Human Services, but also, I don't know if you know Kim Slade from the Barnstable County Regional Substance Use Council, and they're looking at the My Choice Matters campaign to again offer some parent events that address bullying, teen depression, addiction, and eating disorders. So he's really trying to put the guidance department out there for parents and bringing parents in to talk about these issues that our kids are facing every day.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do they have any apprenticeship information at the fair? I'm just wondering about people who might be thinking like, or would the kids not be there because if they're in a vocational
Like a
program?
trades.
Yeah, like a trade.
Trades tech.
I'd have to ask him that. I'm not sure.
I'm just curious because.
Not every kid's going to college.
Right.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
trades and apprenticeship stuff is awesome.
But it also speaks to one of his other events, which is the career day.
Right.
schedule.
So that maybe that would
that's
be more
another
appropriate.
piece
I don't know.
of- And again, that doesn't eliminate college-bound students, but it
No.
does go after everybody to take a look at what your interest is and trying to hook you up with people in the community.
But I think that could be a different day, I mean, because
It
this
might
is a
be.
college
They have a
fair.
career.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it
And
could
the
be like
careers-
college
You
and.
could have a
Exactly.
different thing, a vocational day or something else.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good two-year trade and technical schools.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of community colleges usually are two-year programs, a lot of trade technical schools. So to have a smattering of that would not hurt at all.
Yeah, I think it would be nice.
There's a lot of.
Because you want
openness
everyone
there.
to see, like, I thought of it when they said, you want everybody to see that there's an option out there for
Yes,
them. And
yes.
we want those kids to
And
see
you can
their
just-
option
You can
too.
actually then expand it with a career day as well.
Right.
And I do see some technical schools on
thanks, I
this
didn't
list,
notice.
so you might want
Good.
to take a peek at that.
Thank you.
And then they have the Senior Honors Award celebration scheduled for tomorrow, and you have a list of the honorees. Please don't share that until they have the opportunity to present that to seniors tomorrow.
Any questions for Nancy? Thank you.
Yeah, quick comment. A gentleman who I walk with every Friday morning, who is a alumni of the University of Notre Dame, was at the college fair representing Notre Dame. He had nothing but praise for the kids of Falmouth High School. How the whole day was run, how to involve the kids, and how polite and professional those young men and women were. I thought it was really neat to hear that from even though he's Notre Dame. It was a nice
That's
compliment
nice.
to Falmouth High School.
I think your point is well taken, and if you look on the back sheet, the back of the blue sheet, what you do at a college fair, there's some prep that goes into
Yeah,
this, and
yes.
how to make it the most effective and efficient for kids, so I think that's a really good point that you bring up. They do a lot of work around that.
Awesome. Any other? Yeah, Andrew.
I've already mentioned this to Nancy, but I was able to attend the session that she did with Dr. Borja at the MASC conference, and it was really well done. It was a very full room, because I was certainly in some sessions that did not have half as many people. And there were a lot of people who came to speak to both of them afterwards, so the interest was there, and people were really impressed with what's happening in our district. And I wanted to commend you again for a nice job on that.
Thank you very much.
It's definitely the talk of the conference. Couldn't go anywhere. As soon as they saw Falmouth on the badge, they were like, "Oh, can you tell me about McLean?" It was great. Next, we have the Patrick's report, which we already talked about because it was all related to the sign. And then next is a report from me. I don't have anything except to say that thank you very much for the change in the schedule today. I know it's really hard when things change at the very last minute, but the people that were supposed to be here couldn't be, so we wouldn't have had anything to do. But we will have an executive session at our next meeting on December the 5th, so if you want to plan ahead, it won't be before the meeting, but just in case you want to plan. And I also had a chance to go to MASC and had an amazing time talking with other people and some really interesting workshops. I really enjoyed it. I hope everybody will think about going next year because this is my first time going and I really liked it. Committee member reports. Is anybody?
Well, I went to the conference as well, and it was phenomenal.
And not just because you got more.
No. All the people that, and it was nice to see a lot of Falmouth names. And no offense, Nancy, yours was great. Yours was the best, of course, but I mean, Charlie did one.
Yep.
And
Patrick was everywhere.
Yeah, Patrick was everywhere.
We were well represented.
Yeah, we were, and a former person who worked in Falmouth was also gave one, so we rubbed off on them before they went somewhere else. Liz McGonigal.
Oh,
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, it was a great event.
Yeah, it was. Nice job, Patrick. It was good. Any other reports? Any requests for agenda items? Or follow-up information? Yes?
I was trying to flick my
Yeah,
head in there. I
that's
just
fine.
wanted to follow up on the conference as well. And there were, I was able to attend the entire thing, and there were a lot of really great sessions, a lot of really good information, intriguing ideas from districts all over. And one of the things that they recommended a lot is to, how do we get from these ideas to doing something about it, and they really encouraged workshopping these, so following up on our retreat and other times throughout the year so that we can talk more big picture items in a setting that is very conducive of that. So I would definitely encourage that because I think there's a lot that we can talk about and grapple with as well.
Yeah, I think we need to definitely do that. Because we said we wanted to, so we need to follow up on that.
And Dorothy, remember Dorothy?
Yeah.
She said she'd come back.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dorothy is from MASC and she worked with us 3 years ago, maybe? I think it was 3 years ago on superintendent committee collaboration and the protocols.
Did we write up our protocols with her?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That was all part of her process, so food for thought. Anything else? Yes.
I would just like to give a shameless plug to the East Falmouth Elementary School location of the honor tree Wednesday evening at 5:30. There's still time to order lights online for those of you that are not familiar with it. It honors veterans. Basically, you can go online, purchase a light for your loved one, whether they are in the service, formally in the service, or not at all, just remembrance. And there is a tree in the front of the school that is really for the entire town. It just happens to live at East Falmouth School. And those proceeds go to the Falmouth Military Support Group. And there are third graders reading in Flanders Field that are read every year. The same poem is read every year by different students.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned, because the Morse Pond School Veterans Day celebration is on Thursday morning as well. 8:45, I think.
I'll be attending.
Any last call? We have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
It's gonna be a
We're
roll call.
adjourned.
Doesn't it roll call?